Hey everybody, this is Chase Petiche and I am coming to you from my new home. I did move during a pandemic and it's probably one of the best moves I've made in a really long time, and I'm going to talk about it in this video. But this video is called Authentic Truth and Transforming Values. So it's generally just a reflection of what I've been going through, and I think what I've been going through, what you're going through, is just a reflection of what everyone is going through. And so I just want to reflect on it, share my own story, and give a little bit of spiritual guidance, advice, facilitation, assistance during this time. We also have a full moon lunar eclipse amidst everything else that is happening on June 5th. And like anything else couldn't be piled up upon this, but this is what's happening. We're here for it. And the more we can learn how to hold this energy and work with it versus being afraid of it or shielding or not knowing how to channel it, the more powerful we can become. So the full moon lunar eclipse is going to be based in Sagittarius. It's going to be about 16 degrees Sagittarius. And I did some deep diving into Sagittarius just because I have a lot of Sagittarius in my chart, and anybody who knows me knows that I'm brutally honest, sometimes too not such a good way. And that's one of the hallmarks of Sagittarian energy. But I kind of really wanted to go deep dive into this energy and kind of just think about what it was that was going to be affecting us, and how it was going to be coming up and showing up in our lives. So we had this 2020 intense Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which most astrologers are talking about, but we're still in the midst of, because we have many planets that are going retrograde right now, which means that we had this clash of Saturn and Pluto, which only happens, the last time it happened was 36 years ago. It doesn't happen very often, and in this way, it will never happen in our lifetime again. We had that in January 2020, but it's now it is coming, and it was the planets were moving further apart. Now they're coming back together. So it's like, the tensions that we are seeing politically, externally, internally, it's all part of these energies coming back together. And I've talked a little bit about the Saturn-Pluto. I know it really well because I have energy in my chart I have a Saturn-Pluto conjunction in my chart, so I know it personally, and I understand it. And it really, a lot of it marks this very, structured kind of crisis, because Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, crisis, absolute change. Because you can't really, unless you are of the spirit realm 100%, because we're in our material bodies. When we lose something, when something dies, when something leaves that is in the material form, because of our human doing, our human ways, we are extremely attached to those things, and so it creates a lot of suffering. And so not only that, but that's the essence of Pluto, is this kind of intense changing energy that is a buildup. It's like a pressure. It's a kind of pressure. They say Pluto, the energy, a diamond is created from immense amount of pressure, and that's very much like Plutonic. It's like you have all of this pressure and it builds up into this level of enlightenment. It's like a kind of enlightenment. And so with Saturn blending with it, Saturn the taskmaster, Saturn the lord of karma, Saturn the thing that puts us on our path, the thing that we cannot look away from, the thing that we cannot escape, the thing that is saying no, follow this, put boundaries to it. No, absolutely find yourself. No, you cannot escape this. So for those two to merge at this time, it's what's happening all over the world. Things that have been under the surface, that have been building and brewing, the racial injustice of this country that has been since its inception in all of time, the climate change, the utter disregard for all of life, Donald Trump as our president, all of this coming together at once and just kind of exploding. And that's what we're seeing right now. And the thing with Pluto and is that it creates a chaos, but it also, it's the thing that liberates us. It's the thing that liberates us from the shackles of old systems. And so if we can begin to learn how to ride this energy, we can begin to trust that we're in this flow, and this flow is meant to happen, and it's actually for the highest good, and it's for the ultimate healing of all of us. So I just want to present that. So we have this 2020 Saturn Pluto that we're still feeling, and it's still happening. And then, but like I said, there's a retrograde, so we're going back with the lunar eclipse. So an eclipse is a time that it's a profound time astrological event that really it hastens, quickens, ends, begins things. A full moon lunar eclipse is really the culmination of something. It's kind of like a real ending. It's like this full moon energy that is like this energy emanating from the moon that is cut off, right? So something that is in its completion is getting cut off. And so it's for us to kind of think about what kind of cycle maybe we are at the end of in our own life. And in the collective, what kind of cycle are we possibly ending that is no longer serving us? What is something that is an old way of being that is dying? So it's in the sign of Sagittarius, okay? So the eclipse is in the sign of Sagittarius, and what that means is that Sagittarius it's the sign of the zodiac that is really all about truth. It's craving to explore life, its meaning, and ultimately its truth. It's the arrow. It's the shooting to the unknown. It's the expansive horizon. It's constantly needing to grow, to learn, but also seeking the deeper fundamental spiritual truths, because this is on the Gemini Sagittarius axis. So that means that both Gemini and Sagittarius are going to be, and those two are opposing signs. Gemini, they're connected. Whatever sign in the zodiac is the opposing sign, they're always connected by something. Gemini is more on the material realm. It's more of like information, needing to know information, curiosity, insatiable curiosity, but constantly needing to know it here and now in a mind air way that is very materially based, mercurial. Sag is fire. It's the same thing with information, needing to know more, constantly wanting to grow, but it's in this way that is more expansive and in integrating higher truths, higher spiritual truths. And that's really in its highest. Sagittarius is really the seeker and the philosopher, always wanting to know and understand the deeper level of truth behind something. So we have this, and it's coming into our own lives. And so the two key words I would say for Sagittarius are ultimately truth and freedom. And you cannot actually, those are not mutually exclusive. They really depend on each other, because when we start to become more aware of our own authentic truth, we start to have the courage to utter that powerful truth to ourselves and to others, we become more free. And that's really the hallmark of Sagittarius. It's really kind of getting to the bare bones, the truth of a matter, while simultaneously wanting to know more, to grow. It's when you get to those bare bones, you're able to expand. When you're able to access your truth, you actually have more freedom to grow. It's like and it's really has a lot to do with the shadow, the things that we keep from ourselves, the things that we are maybe not even in our full consciousness, that we may not even understand. So I'm going to tell you a story of what has happened to me during this past month. It's kind of been a buildup. So, for those who follow me, I relocated from Seattle, Washington, where I had a practice, body work, and also a psycho-spiritual consulting practice. It was doing very well, but I felt very called to move to LA. It's where I'm from. It's what I felt called to do. And so I made this huge move to leave. I had a partner there. I had friends, an office, all kinds of things. And I decided to leave, and I ended up finding a place that I didn't know where I wanted to live in LA exactly. I kind of had ideas of certain areas, and what popped up was this place that was like incredibly beautiful. And it was kind of this penthouse energy that was like in this old building. It was gorgeous. It had this rooftop office that was perfect for my healing work. it was in a neighborhood that I didn't necessarily see myself living in. It was kind of like adjacent to Beverly Hills. And I was living formerly in a cottage on the water. You know, I am an earth child. I'm a Virgo. I just love like being around dirt. I love being in the earth. I love being simple. So this was like a huge kind of shift for me. But I just decided to just kind of embrace it. It was kind of like where I was trying to go. It's like that Sagittarian expansion, right? So I moved. I remember when I signed the lease, I actually got physically ill, and I remember throwing up because it was like this huge move. I was like on absolute faith. And it was just so much pressure that I had put myself under to be able to afford the rent, to be able to, you know, build my business, rack up, to not have to put others out by needing to like borrow money if I needed anything. It was so much pressure that I had put on myself, while simultaneously living in this neighborhood where when I would walk my dog, like, people were not very friendly. People were stressed out. Like, it was off of Burton Way in Los Angeles. It was like lots of really fancy cars, but simultaneously the energy was so much pressure. It was like high stakes. It was like so much money, this level of elitism and materialism. And I was like, well, I'm here for a reason, I guess. You know, I'm meant to be here, and I'm meant to try to open this energy up to a deeper sense of itself. But I kept feeling really like kind of lonely and misunderstood and not vibing with anybody really. So as the coronavirus kind of happened, and I had this real intense time to really kind of get down to myself, get down to my truth, like examine who I am, examine what really matters to me. I had time to access my authentic truth. And in that, I allowed my values to transform, because what I realized was that I actually didn't want to live there. In the material sense, for what it looked like on paper, it was like amazing and beautiful, and a real step up. But for me personally, it wasn't nourishing me at all. And so I had to come face to face with this ego identity and this American identity, which is, I think, where I was on that track of what Americana is about, of like, you know, just increasing and trying to make more money and doing all these things and, you know, trying to keep up with the Joneses, even though that's so not who I am, but it's what presented itself to me. And yet, it was so inauthentic to who I was. And so I had to come face to face with that. And I had to really go through this period of letting all of that idea of what I thought that I wanted die. You know, I faced everything. I faced the failure piece. I faced everything. And once I kind of let the ego really go, I felt so much happier. And what ended up happening is I ended up moving into this amazing place that my sister was actually living in, and it's in a much more diverse neighborhood. All of my neighbors are of all colors, creeds. You know, there's so much life here. There's like plants and gardens and butterflies and the people here are so incredibly nice. I already know the names of my neighbors. And I have a backyard with a garden, and I'm just, like, the second I actually got myself moved in, I was just so much happier. I can't even explain to you the level of relief that I felt, because I felt like I was home. I actually felt like California is my home, but for the first time since I've come back here, I feel at home. And the reason I'm sharing this story is because I think that it's really a story about downsizing. But not just that, it's a story about allowing our values to kind of going with the flow of what the universe is handing to us right now, which is the coronavirus, and then everything that is happening with George Floyd and the George Floyd movement. And, you know, the coronavirus really has given us all this opportunity to go inwards and to really examine. And I cannot tell you how many friends and clients and family members have also reflected back to me kind of the same thing, that they are kind of living these lives and they're on this hamster wheel that they don't know why they're on it, because they're not happy. They're not expressing their creative self. They're not in alignment with their highest truth. And it's just taken a time for them to stop so that they could open themselves up to that. And so I just wanted to share because I've had friends and family call me with similar issues. And once I shared my story and I was able to just like, be really humble and really have a lot of humility and be honest that, that lifestyle is a lifestyle that we are programmed to want. But when I was able to tune in to what I actually really needed and really desired, it was really much, much less. I actually thrive with so much less. That apartment that I was living in was so sterile. I bought all this beautiful new furniture for my house, but because it was so big, I didn't get to enjoy it. I didn't get to make it my own. I never felt comfortable. I felt like it was always for others. And now that I live in a smaller place, I just feel so much more grounded. I feel so much more at peace. I feel, and I would just challenge you all. So the authentic truth and the informing our values and transforming our values. My values have been transformed, and a huge part of me has just kind of let go of whatever it is that I think that I should be doing in America or should be, or whoever I think I should be, and just has gone, if I can make, a living doing what I love to do, what my soul feels called to do, and live simply, I am happy. And that's kind of where I'm getting to. I'm like, a part of me has just opened up to like peace and the simple things. And I think that this is really a time with this eclipse to really, really start to get deeper with ourselves, to allow ourselves to uncover what beyond our ego, beyond the shoulds of what our culture tells us we should be doing or should be having, what is our authentic truth? And how can that inform and transform our values, the things that we choose to live by? Because I will tell you, once I opened myself up to allowing my own authentic truth out, my values have shifted, I have shifted, and I have become so much more incredibly happy. So that's just what I wanted to share with you all today. I love you so much. And give yourself some time during this lunar eclipse. It's going to give yourself to really ask yourself to sit with some questions about, letting yourself really be honest about what is working for you in your life and what is not working for you in your life. What is really not nourishing you? What is exhausting you? What are you doing because you should do? And how can you change that? How can you change your lifestyle? How can you change your life to live more in alignment with the things that you actually believe in? And what would it look like to start living a life that was in alignment with the things that you really believed in? Because I think this is the disconnect with us as Americans, is that we have all these ideals, but we're not necessarily living our ideals because we have this idea of what we need, the kind of lifestyle that we should have, and the kind of money that we should make, and how we should present ourselves in the world. Yet it's like killing a part of us because we're just doing it to like perpetuate this machine. And if we can just stop for a moment and try to wake up to our own authentic self, our own authentic internal truth, and allow that to emerge and start to admit it to just ourselves, there can be a beautiful, beautiful emergence of transforming energy and values within the self. And then integrity, having enough integrity to ask yourself, am I living in accordance with these values? So this is what I would ask you to ask yourself during this eclipse. This is a beautiful and profound time to complete cycles, initiate new ones, and imagine a new life, a new future where you are able to live more authentically, live more in joy, live more in peace, live more in happiness, okay? I love you all. Have a wonderful day.